Well, hello, it's good to have you with us again today. Now, suffering is a reality of a fallen world, and no one is promised a life free of suffering. There will be times when we are tempted to hate ourselves and to believe lies about ourselves and the world. And yet we're called to refocus our lives and minds on the truth. Jesus says, "I am the way and the truth and the life." Ephesians 5:28-29 says, "He who loves his wife loves himself. After all, no one ever hated his own body, but he feeds and cares for it just as Christ does the church." So we are to love our own body and to feed and care for it. Suicide is the opposite of care and love for one's body. It is an act of self-pity rather than self-love. Suicide impacts others who have to pick up the pieces once the person has died. Although we can sympathise with anyone feeling low enough to take their life, it's usually an expression of selfishness rather than selflessness. We need also remember that for those who do not know Christ, suicide will not be the end of suffering they are hoping for, but will be the start of an eternal suffering. As much as we are able, Christians then should want to allow as much opportunity as possible to those in despair and depression to find the one who does bring an end to suffering, the Lord Jesus Christ. Although death is unnatural and it's an enemy, we know that Jesus has defeated death. And as Christians we can expect to be with the Lord after death. Paul writes, "I desire to depart and be with Christ, which is better by far." Christians can therefore look forward to the end of pain and suffering that death will bring us. But that is no justification for suicide. A biblical perspective on death means we should not aim to preserve life at all costs. A balance needs to be reached between not acting to hasten death and not using extraordinary means to prolong life. Remember, physical death is not the end. Medical technology means that highly expensive and intrusive means can be used to extend life. A biblical perspective would not require this and would allow patients to die naturally. This does not justify withdrawal of food or water to hasten death, but it does mean that patients are not required to accept every medical intervention that is in offer. Ultimately, it is the Lord who gives and takes away life. Humans are not called to have total control over life, over the circumstances of their deaths. We do what we can to care for the sick and the suffering, with huge advancements to palliative care, doing just this, and then we entrust the timing of the death to the Lord. That many elderly people choose assisted suicide or euthanasia because they are a burden to their family is a shame to our selfish Western culture.